Thank you so much for being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieve skin tones and a laughing smile. Starting with the outline, then the underdrawing, rich colour stage, and then the final details. Be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Right, I decided to do this as a freehand outline, so just putting a center point on my board there and also a center point on my reference image. Just added another layer and pressed the select tool, and from there I'm using imaginary angles to create the certain shapes needed. Also holding the pencil at a distance so it's quite loose marks, putting the loose marks in first, just getting a feel for where the shapes are. Just see it as shapes rather than a nose, eyes and mouth and teeth. If you don't name these things, it becomes more easier and less sort of overwhelming. You can use your pencil on a vertical plane just to find the sort of areas where they are compared to other areas. It's a little bit of a guesswork to start with, but you've got to start somewhere, and you're just comparing one shape against the other. I'm using the Faber-Castell kneadable eraser to mould the shapes as well, so put a mark in mould and redraw it. Now you can compare the distance from under the nose to a certain part of the study and see if it's the same. Same with the width against the height. I tend to get one eye in first, and then once I'm happy with the position, then I can use the pencil on a horizontal plane to find the position of the other eye, and then just keep comparing just to see if it's in the right place. Now I'm holding the pencil close to the tip there and putting more detail in. So you start off loose, then you get more and more detail as you're finishing off, and it's just once you get happy with these positions you can just firm it up. With the hair it's the same sort of thing, just keep moving it around till it starts to feel right. Now to help with peripheral vision, so you see everything at once, is to be aware rather than thinking about what you're doing, and being centered in your heart makes all the difference. Selection of pencils I'll be using for the underdrawing. Now for the teeth I'm using orange and blue, and for the shadows these colours here. Right, starting off with the teeth then, just putting the white in, just reshaping the outline. That's all the underdrawing's for, really, to redraw what I've done and to get some sort of form. Great colour combination, orange and blue, the complementary colours, so it creates perfect greys. So if you want a little bit warmer, add more orange, cooler, add more blue. Just using basic colours for the shadows here for the underdrawing, just brown and red together. Later on I'll be putting green and red, the complementary colours, together to get that real depth, but you'll see that later on in the video. So just playing with the colours now, having fun with it really. I love this stage because you can be really loose. I'll start with the flesh tint. I'm just using the kneadable razor just to ghost that outline, and then starting with the white, light pressure where it's mid-tone, more pressure where it's highlight, and then just glaze over then with either red, yellow ochre and blue. Now for the shadows I'm using green and red, which desaturates it, so you tend to find when you put colours on straight away they're too bright, so to knock that back a bit, to dull it, just add the complementary colour. So if it's red it's green, if it's orange it's blue. Just correcting the shape of the side of the face there with the white, and just adding that little bit of white just for the background. I'm not interested at this stage of getting the value right, the colour right, or the temperature. All it is just to reshape everything and get some basic form in there, just so you feel as though the drawing is right and it feels right before you start putting in the rich colours, which will be later on in this video. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Just enjoy the freedom and keep it nice and loose and free flowing, and just be interested in just getting those shapes in place. With the hair here, I'm just getting a few lines in there. See it as movement, as rhythm, and then just glaze over with the yellow ochre and burnt sienna or blue. Now each stage makes the next stage easier, so you just got to just let it go of trying to get those details in at a really early stage. It's really good for patients as well doing it this method, because you're learning to leave things not quite right, so you get used to doing each stage for what it is and just focus on that. So I'm not focusing on any value, any colour, temperature, chroma, and it's really nice just to be have the freedom just to move things around and get the shapes right, and that's all I'm focusing on. And you don't get overwhelmed by all the details straight away. Then you build it up slowly but surely. Now I always find it easier if I open my heart, send the energy to the reference image, and then you'll find that the energy from the reference image comes back to you and then out of your hands. So you're focusing on drawing energy and the feeling, because she's got this really cheeky smile and she's looking down and she's imagining what she's finding funny, and it's really a treat to draw, really. And if you focus on how it feels rather than the details, then your work will start to feel more alive and more sort of energy rather than loads of details everywhere. With the hair, I don't try and draw every strand the same, it's just my interpretation, so I just close as I can to the shapes but not exactly the same, so it keeps everything relaxed then. Now these are the extra colours I'll be using from Caran d'Ache and Faber-Castell White there, with a few warmer colours from Caran d'Ache as well. This is the rich colour stage now. It's still a blocking stage, but all we're doing now is just focusing on getting the value, chroma and temperature more correct. Now for the background colour I'm using lemon yellow, and then the complementary colour of yellow is purple, so I'm using a light purple to mix in with the yellow to get the natural sort of shadow or subtlety of value change. I find if you focus on using the complementary colours to create natural shadows, it makes all the difference of making it feel more alive. Now even though that's the background, there's the energy of her aura, if you like, or a feeling around the face that you have to feel, so you're putting that in as well, so it's a space around her, you're connecting to that while you're drawing the background. And I'm using a sort of cotton bud as well just to soften things up, but it makes a difference just putting them purple with the yellow in this instance. Now for the hair here, I'm just working on this little area here just to get a feel for it again, and just putting that depth of value in there and chroma now. So I'm using the Caran d'Ache, actually flesh tint, about 10% that one is, and then just laying that in and just glaze over the top just to create more of a chroma, more sort of shine to it, and you're just building it up. I'll come back to that and put details in later on in this video, but again, with it being just a block in, you're just focusing mainly on getting the value, chroma and temperature right, so you just keep playing with it until it starts to develop. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my Patreons for their wonderful support every month. I can't thank you enough, it means the world to me. If you're considering joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, all the videos I put on there now is all in real-time audio, real-time video, so you get a real taste of how I approach things moment by moment. So to check that out, just follow the link in the description below after you've watched the video. Just slowing it down so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm getting the sort of value with the white there, just changing the sort of tint of it, then glaze over with dark ultramarine, then add in the complementary colour, which burnt sienna, which will create subtle tones. Now adding more colour to the mouth now, and so for the gums there I'm using two different reds, highlighting the colour, then glaze over them with lemon yellow. Now it's just a case of just putting more pigment down and adding more richness, so it's just a case of doing the same as what you did with the underdrawing, but adding that sort of more richer colour. But later on in the video I add even more richer colour by using the Caran d'Ache, which I'll show you later on. Now I always go with my instinct, so if I'm drawn to a certain part I will change where I am, like I was working on the mouth there, then go on to a little bit of flesh tint here in this instance, because sometimes you have to get that right before you can get the balance right in the other area. So here I'm putting more darker value underneath the teeth there using cold red and dark green and a little bit of black here and there. Just keep trying different variations and different colours, just building it up now, just building that pigment up. All the details will be in later on in this video. At this point I'm not worried about details, that's what keeps it relaxed and you don't get overwhelmed, because I'm not focusing on details. All I'm focusing on is getting the value right, chroma right, and the temperature. Just a little real time here just to show you how I'm softening things. Just small circles, very lightly does it and all, because if you put too much pressure on it, it just takes all the pigment off the pastel mat. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't want it too smooth because it'll look like plastic, so I'm going over again, small circles with the white and tinting areas just to create more texture and then glaze over again. So if it's cooler I'm using the cold red and blue, if it's warmer I'm just adding a little bit of yellow ochre or lemon yellow, and it's just a case of just getting that balance and putting them small circles in and then just really enjoying playing with all these different tones. Now at this point I'm experimenting with using a colour very similar to what I'm looking for, rather than mixing it using ultramarine blue and Elysium crimson. You know, sometimes you can create different textures by using a pencil which is a very similar colour. So sometimes you just have to change things up to what you normally do just to see what happens. But I'm using a combination of that pencil plus using blue and red and yellow ochre, so it's just a little bit of a shortcut if you like, and it creates different sort of feeling to the texture. So that's what I've decided to do here. Now when I do the eyes I always do the both of them together so I don't forget what I've added to create the iris colour. So I'm using black for the pupil and a little bit of darkness around that, and then a bit of blue. Always use something with black, and then burnt sienna for the iris with a little bit of flesh tint in there, which is only yellow ochre and a bit of red mixed together. Again, it's just a blocking, so all the details will be put on later on in this video. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Richness in the shadow area there using Caran d'Ache, Vermilion Red, Elysium Crimson and Yellow Ochre, and also a flesh tint there, I think that's 5% or 10%, one or the other, and then just blending it with the actual cotton bud and then adding that texture over again. To create natural shadow now I'm using the dark green and the warm red with a bit of yellow ochre just to warm it up in places. Now for the detail stage, all it is getting that finer detail in there, or subtleties, but still keeping it loose. So I have one image, quite a large image on my monitor, and one smaller image so I can see the whole feeling of the energy. So it's really important not to get tunnel vision and start putting loads of details in certain areas and not look at it as a whole, or it like confuse the eye. You see, what I tend to try and do is connect the whole of the energy of the person and let the details take care of themselves. So I'm just feeling my way. If it feels like it's not quite right, it needs attention, so I'm going with my feelings and I'm just going different places until it all balances up. If you're interested to know how I create natural shadows using complementary for skin tones, I have got a free class for you. The link is in the description below. Now this method I use for landscapes, for pets, wildlife, so it applies to everything really. It's just using the complementary colours as a way of subtling and toning down your work. Now I'm using the pencils in some very small circles, little dashes, and then just glazing over with certain colours. So I'm using the white to create certain tints and then glaze, and just keep repeating that until it starts to shape up really. With the details I'm looking at the chroma, the value, the temperature, and also the edges. Some edges are softer than others, some are sharper, and it's just a case of getting that balance. My approach to freckles is to sort of put the complementary colour again, is just the red and the green, which will create a darker skin tone, and then it creates a sort of natural look to the freckles. And in some areas I put a bit of yellow ochre, which you'll see me do later on. Now here I'm using green and red just to create a grey for the eyelashes, because if I get them in the wrong place I can still make it into a skin tone easy enough. So that sometimes is a good way of doing it. Now I'm using a bit of blue with it as well, so you've got to keep playing to see what works until you get an idea. So what I'll do is play it on that area, so when I do on the other eye I'll have a good idea what to do then. Right, for the eyelashes then, I try and go as close as I can to what the reference image is, but I tend to sort of give it my interpretation, so it's not exactly the same. That way I'm not getting sort of overwhelmed by all the detail and trying to get it really spot on and everything exactly the same. I think if you're a bit spontaneous and put your slant on it, it becomes more sort of free-flowing, and it seems to be more relaxed, because if you try and get every little detail it can tense things up, and I try and create a wholeness where you're just seeing energy, not detail. It down to real time so you can see how I do these freckles. So green first, then red, and then your yellow ochre in places, and then you just tint in certain areas because some are darker than others, and that seems to create a natural looking freckle. There needs to be richer, so I'm adding more pressure on the burnt sienna to create more pigment over the actual detail I've done earlier. And just keep glazing, being sort of spontaneous with it, add in that blue to create purples, and then yellows to create sort of greens in certain areas with the blue. It's a case of playing really and adjusting accordingly. Very light touch on your pencil, create those really fine lines. I sharpen my point with a knife and that will create an edge. I can keep turning the pencil to find another edge. Just vary the line as well by going over with burnt sienna and a bit of blue. It just creates greys in that hair then, and little bits of glints here and there in the hair just makes all the difference. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end, really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It means so much to me because this would help the channel to grow. If there's any questions at all, please leave a message in the comment section below this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, if you would like to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care, bye.